Welcome, everybody, to the Greenfork Food for Thought podcast. We are here recording live in my kitchen, my space where all the magic happens. To normal studios under construction. So, anyways, today's guest is Tess Palma-Martinez. She is a...
Tess.
Just Tess.
It's just Tess.
Okay, not Tessa. Just Tess.
Just Tess.
Okay. She is a childhood friend of mine who has had an amazing journey through her life, embarking on all sorts of cool endeavors like a private chef to the stars, energy sound healer, teacher, business owner, all kinds of fun stuff, right? So, yeah, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. I know the last time we met up and had coffee or tea, we had an amazing discussion. It was super cool, and so I've been wanting to have you on since I started this. And yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. That conversation was really great, and going back, our 20th high school reunion is next month. I'm not going, but knowing you then and then reconnecting now, and we really haven't had much interaction in between that time, and to see how we've had our own lives and gone in these different directions, but then there's so many points of overlap to explore all of that, and then today we'll explore more.
Yeah, cool. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was just life. You know, how's it been going over the last 20 years, since I've seen you? It's crazy to think 20 years has passed, but I'm not going to that high school reunion either. Yeah, I don't really care. I don't need to drudge up old memories, and I'm sure it would be fun to see some people that I haven't seen in a while, but I'm good.
Yeah.
I ran into somebody yesterday from high school, or Saturday from high school, Jared Riffenberry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he was running some thing for the reunion of the Saratoga battle in the Revolutionary War. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't know. It was nice just to see him doing well, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's a handful of people that I keep in contact with.
Okay.
Not from our grade, but...
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, because I started early, and then, I failed a bunch of classes because I was just a crazy kid. And so I ended up being friends with, a lot of people in high school, And there's this whole clique of people that had a big barbecue on Sunday, and I was there, so that was cool. So yeah, here and there we keep in contact, but you've had an amazing journey. You took off, got out of Saratoga.
Yeah.
Was that right after high school?
Pretty much. I went, right after high school I went to college. I was down in New York City and went to school, stayed in New York City after, and then I did come back, just kind of that, I feel like a lot of people do that in your early 20s after you've graduated, and then you're like, oh my god, this
what
is
now?
what life is, and this is what responsibility is, and I had no idea, and lots of apologies to my mom for being all righteous when I was young, and then now I'm like, oh wow, this is like a big thing. And she was gracious enough to let me come back, and I was here briefly for maybe a year or 8 months or something, and then I couldn't do it, and I had to leave again. And I went to LA, I went to Brazil for a while. My dad's family is in Brazil, and so reconnecting with that part of me. And it's been a lot of like for anyone just listening and not watching the video, it's like these two paths kind of weaving in and out throughout the last 20 years of, I didn't know my dad growing up. He left when I was 4, no contact. And then after graduating, going to Brazil, meeting his whole family. He wasn't there though, so I still hadn't met him, but I'm meeting my aunts and my grandmother and my sisters and like all these aspects of myself. Yeah. And it wasn't then until COVID, so I guess I was 33, and I was doing a cross-country solo trip from New York to LA to officially move there, and he heard from my sister that followed me on Instagram and sent my number to him, and he called and he was like, would you please stop and see me in Texas? And I stopped there, got to meet him. It was beautiful. We now have a weekly phone call on the weekends and are building a relationship, but it was really helpful. I think as a kid, again, we don't really know. We don't have the full picture of things, and so it's easy for us to be like, oh, my life would have been so much better if my dad was here. And then meeting him, I was like, oh, it was perfect exactly how it was. I probably am better off not having him in my life for that whole time, just for who he was at that time when I was that age, and lots of different aspects. But I was able to heal that wound that had been lingering for so long, this like lamenting wound. And then I lived in LA for 3.5 years, and then I was working as a chef. So kitchens are also very comfortable for me.
That's cool.
But then that led me to sound healing. That led me to live in Costa Rica, and then I just moved back to Saratoga 4 months ago from Costa Rica, and I'm back in school. And
where does the floral shop come in there?
Oh yeah, so I had a plant store, kitchen and garden things. That was before I went to nutrition school, before I started working as a chef, kind of a precursor. So when I was in college, I studied large-scale installation, the transformation of spaces, and started working for a very, very famous florist, going all over doing big weddings for her, like suspending big trees from the barns and
very cool,
all different kinds of cool stuff. And I also was working for the store Anthropology, which is like a popular women's clothing store, doing their in-store displays. And I hated the corporate whole thing and decided to open my own store. And so I did that in Troy, New York. So not quite Saratoga, a little bit further, a little bit more diversity, a little bit more culture. And I had that for 4 to 5 years, and then I closed. Just viability was that same. I was getting to that point of like, okay, I'm looking at jobs to go get a full-time job so that I can pay a part-time employee to keep the store open. And that business is hard. Doesn't work out.
It shouldn't be that way. Business should pay for itself. But passion projects are funny like that. Like this is a passion project for me, and it's just so much work, and I feel like burnout happens. You know, you lose interest, you lose passion for it when money comes into play. You know, so I get it. It's tough, especially in New York. Taxes and fees, and it's rough.
It is.
But that's cool though. Like a floral shop. I appreciate flowers. I appreciate plants and nature. But I don't know anything about it. So.
Well, I realized I think I was maybe still in LA, maybe in Costa Rica, but I was definitely doing sound healing when I made the connection that no matter what I've been doing, it's all been about frequency and helping to heal people. And they all have something to do with some kind of bowl or pot. And with plants, it was planting them into a pot, packing them with dirt, having that frequency of nature around, helping people to connect back with nature. That led me into nutrition school, and then I'm working as a chef, stirring in pots, making food, literally nourishing people from the inside out. And then that led me to sound healing, which is an even more pure form of the frequency. It's direct. There's no metabolism needed for that. You don't have to get dirty like you are with planting, and then again, I'm still stirring inside of this pot, and so that imagery has stayed with me, and now I'm studying sonography, which is the use of sound waves in medical science, which I absolutely believe that sound is going to be a big part of our medical future, and hopefully heal a lot more people in a much more affordable way. And the way that sound moves and the way that it allows us to see into the body and discover it, it's really interesting. It's a very fascinating study.
Yeah, I'm curious. I've only had a handful of experiences with, like a sound bath or a gong bath. And I absolutely can feel the energy in my body, like vibrating every muscle, every cell. It's rejuvenating. I feel like it washes me clean sometimes. So it's amazing. But what is actually happening when you sit and do like a sound bath? Like one of your classes.
The main thing that I'm like aware of in this moment is this cup of tea. And if you move the water, you get those ripples. If you throw a pebble into a lake, you're going to get those ripples. If you go back to Jurassic Park, and the footsteps and the water in the cup of the car is like shaking, that's essentially what's happening to our cells during a sound bath. It's actually happening no matter where we are in any space. There is frequency happening.
Yeah.
Anything that exists has a frequency because it's taking up space. This refrigerator that's behind me that we can hear, that has a frequency. And different musical instruments have frequencies. So we can be exposed to artificial, Wi-Fi, cell phone signals, all of those. That's going to take us away from our natural harmonic state. We can surround ourselves with frequencies found in nature, found in music. That's going to shift us closer toward our natural harmonic state. And so really it's understanding what is your baseline. All of us are tuned to different aspects. Some people are more tuned to an artificial frequency. There's nothing right or wrong about that. That's just their tuning. When people are in an artificial environment, but their nature is to be more of a natural frequency, that's when anxiety, depression, chronic issues, inflammation, emotional issues, psychiatric issues, all of those things can start to bubble up because we're out of our true nature.
Yeah.
People that are in nature environments that are more artificially tuned, they're going to be really uncomfortable there as well. So sound is the basis of everything. That's why it's so comfortable for us in a sound bath.
Yeah.
Most people, like you're saying, it's washing you clean. That's partially why they call it a bath. It's that like cleansing experience. Some people call it a sound journey. That's often more where they're taking you on these different journeys with using different instruments. That can be used more in like a psychological hypnotherapy modality. That's more to entertain your mind. Whereas classic true sound bath is just for the body to receive. And when you come into contact with those frequencies, it's like, I know this.
Oh, yeah.
This feels like home. This is what I am.
Yeah.
And so then you can relax. Your muscles can relax. Your circulation improves. Your breathing slows down. You shift into that parasympathetic state of the autonomic nervous system. And a lot of us are in the sympathetic. A lot of us are in that, like, oh my God, I have to go. Where's the text message? Did I send that? I have to get food, my dog, whatever things are. And we have to take time to get back into that parasympathetic.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I feel like I am more attuned to nature. And so you're saying a big part of that is just the frequencies of like the dirt, the trees, the plants and everything. So it's more than just kind of being out there. And for me, I like to meditate in nature. And I feel like when I do that, I wrote this like poem about it one time where my body kind of dissolves and it feels like my spine is just kind of swaying with the wind and being influenced. Which might be a little gross, but it's.
That's not gross.
I don't know. It's cool. It's really cool. But so I really connect to that type of thing, and the meditation is often just listening to sounds in nature, whether it's birds or wind or leaves. I try to root into the ground and feel that frequency, I guess, without knowing, But music plays a huge role. I mean, I'm always listening to music. I'm a big music person. I played music for years, drums.
I remember.
Yeah.
Sitting behind me in class, tapping away.
Always tapping, I've just always got like a rhythm, so I feel very like rhythm based. And even my movement practice is very dancey, it's very rhythmic. So that's kind of how I tune, into that aspect of me. But as I've gotten older, I am a little bit more picky when it comes to music. So, for example, I tell this story all the time, but like Linkin Park, right? That's a band that we grew up listening to because they were popular. But you listen to those lyrics and they're pretty depressing. Like he's talking about suicide. He's talking about like really crazy stuff. And it's not just that band. It's like a whole genre of music, I guess. And I've just grown more sensitive to that kind of stuff. And even like rap music where they're talking about guns and drugs and women and all that stuff. And I'm not really down with that stuff anymore, I don't really appreciate that. It's not, when I was younger, I was like, oh, this is cool, but, I prefer to listen to like jazz or funk or like happier music. And I've heard people say that there's like a certain frequency, like in the 808s, that appeals to like the primal sense, or primal senses, and there's other frequencies that kind of lift us up and all that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what's that about?
Yeah, sure. So they're within the lower frequencies that you're going to be hearing music or you're going to be using instruments. That's more of like a spectrum.
Yeah.
I have this conversation a lot with people, especially because I help people find instruments for whatever they're wanting, whether it's for facilitating or personal use. I have this very specific ailment. What frequency should I get to heal it?
Sure.
That's not how it works.
Okay.
So it's more in like a gray spectrum of within this range, anything that you're going to be connecting with is going to help balance you. Of course, every single person is unique. We know this working with food. You could have an amazing dish that 10 people love and one person is like, ugh, that's gross. Or another person would be like, oh my God, that will kill me because I'm so allergic to it.
Yeah.
We're all totally different, so there is no one perfect frequency. But within that range, you can find, oh, I really like this one.
Yeah.
And I don't really care for that one, and let that be enough. When you're getting into the music aspect of it, a lot of times the frequency is paired with heart rate. And so when you hear like dance music, it's literally because the frequency is tuned to bring your heart rate up, to bring that rhythm up so that your body physically wants to dance along with it. Whereas slower, often pieces that have more rhythmic drum is lower. That's bringing your heart rate down. You might still kind of want to move your body, but it's definitely more grounded rather than moving up. The higher the frequency is, the higher up you're going to feel like you want to go. Yeah.
Cool. So based on that, you can use that as a tool to kind of, change your frequency or where you're at. So I know that like, it changes for me all the time. Like if I'm running, I've just been doing some distance running lately, training for a half marathon. And like, it's cool. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think I'm ready. It's next weekend. But when I run, the music changes. Sometimes on a shorter run where I want to be faster, it'll be like more heavy rock. Again, I kind of stay away from those like depressing lyrics, but just listen to the music of it, and it's very energetic. But sometimes on longer ones, like Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, is like my go-to album for running because it's kind of psychedelic. It's out there, and it's not such a high BPM. But if I'm lifting weights, I want high energy. If I'm doing some yoga or like my animal flow practice, it's more like jungle music, tribal beats and stuff like that. So I've learned how to, because I'm so sensitive to music, I've learned how to use it to my advantage. Another example, if I'm depressed, sometimes I'll listen to the blues, and like it gets me, it aligns with me, So it's not necessarily that it's making it worse, but it's kind of soothing me in a way. And then when I feel good, it's like James Brown and like, funky stuff. So is there a way, like, besides music or somebody that's not so sensitive and attuned, that they can use frequencies like that in the form of music to help them feel better or whatever?
Yeah, I think you explained it beautifully.
Yeah.
There are two aspects here. One is like subliminal, that I want to say that and put a pin in it. And then the second is really knowing, like you're saying, when I'm sad, I want to listen to the blues, knowing when that emotion has been satisfied.
Yeah.
And then letting it go.
Yeah.
Versus sometimes a lot of people, especially anyone who struggles with any type of addiction, whether it's with a substance or with emotions, we will hold on to that feeling. I'm sad, I'm going to play the blues, I'm going to let this sadness go, and then that sadness feels so good, I'm just going to keep going with it, and then we end up spiraling down into a hole.
Yeah.
But all of our frequency in general is seeking for resolution. It's trying to find something that it can be exalted, if you will, and then released.
Yeah.
And so we often find that in partners that we choose that mirror things back to us in lots of different ways. When we're going into hypnotherapy, when you're going into the subconscious, it's really validate. Validate anything that comes up. There's no detail that is insignificant or doesn't make sense or whatever. Our subconscious is talking to us in a lot of different ways. And so allow that to come through and be satisfied and then move on.
Yeah.
But don't let it suck you into that. So that's one thing to think about. And then the subliminal piece of it that just kept coming through in my mind during this conversation is oftentimes, and I found it with this one song that was super popular. It was really popular on Instagram for a while, and everyone was using the trending reels and putting their thing onto it. And I liked it. It was catchy. I usually don't care for those types of songs, but this one was really interesting. And I was doing a movement practice. I love being on the floor. I just put 4 yoga mats down and then just roll around for hours.
Great. I love that.
And I was listening to that song, came on, and I was in such a low frequency space that I was able to pick up on a really low subliminal within that sound. That was actually an audio recording of 2 people fighting that they had laid in the background of the song.
Wow.
Prior to that, I had never heard that aspect of it. And then I listened to it a few more times over the days of is that real? And I would tune in and hear oh my God, there are 2 people, and it was a rough recording of it, just going at each other in the background of the song, which totally contradicts the energy that I had felt from this song.
Yeah.
But if that frequency is part of the song, I'm receiving it, and I don't want that. And so I took it off my playlist, and I won't listen to it anymore, but really allowing yourself to become sensitive enough that you can pick up on all of that. It's like eating a bag of chips for oh, these are really yummy, and then some things shift and you're being a little bit healthier, and then you go to this bag of chips and you're actually there's this aftertaste with this chip that I don't think I really like that anymore. Yeah. And allowing that's your body letting you know this is no longer in harmony with where you're at. Yeah.
That's really cool. That you're able to pick up on those very tiny little subliminal things that I don't think a lot of people do. And that's the case of Linkin Park. It's the same thing. I was you listen to, sometimes I listen for the lyrics and sometimes I listen for the music. Have you ever heard that before? And just one day I was maybe feeling particularly sensitive and was listening to the radio and a song came on and I was actually, nah, I don't want that anymore. So I just think that's super cool. I'm fascinated by music, just kind of not knowing any of the stuff that you know, but just being aware enough to be able to tell the difference and how it feels in my body, because a big part of it is that movement practice too, which I think is really cool that you do that. Let's talk about movement practices. Beforehand, we were talking about how I've been doing this, I don't know if it'd be Tai Chi, but just bouncing around and twisting and turning and slapping and kind of simplistic movements that help, for me, shake off energy if I feel tense or stressed or just to loosen up in any way. And that's super cool. I also do a primal flow, animal flow that is very I'll spread out, maybe no mats, maybe 4 or 5 mats, whatever. And just move around the room, and it's this, pretend I'm a monkey, pretend I'm a gorilla or a leopard or whatever, and just get out of my head and pretend to be something else, or just, I don't know if that's the right word, but, just really embody, my animal spirit, and that is so great. It's, for me, it's therapeutic and great for my physical health, but what kind of practices do you do that are like that? Because it seems you like to roll around on the ground and
Yeah, I've been studying the body for so long. I did my yoga teacher training when I was in my mid-20s, and it was a really intensive yoga anatomy teacher training, and so it was over 6 months, and we were studying medical textbooks. And it just has continued from nutrition to now I'm in pre-med school, pre-med classes, and learning about all the intricacies of the way that our body is structured and operates. Yeah. And so I weave in a lot of different modalities. I will weave in, let's say, somatic exercises, somatic experiencing. With, right now I'm doing a fascial, which is fascia maneuvers. Yeah. And so to talk about fascia for a second, fascia is, for anyone, this is a cooking cooking experience or anyone who has cooked an animal before,
Yeah.
Chicken is the easiest way, where you're cutting off maybe the breast and it still has the skin on, and you go to peel the skin of the chicken off of the breast, the raw breast, and there's this usually white, very kind of webby, thin layer in between the skin and the meat of the breast.
Yeah.
That's the fascia. Yeah. And fascia is a liquid matrix that runs through and connects our entire body. And liquid is used loosely. It's actually more like a plasma.
Yeah.
And plasma is kind of like, we have liquid, gas, solid, and then plasma is kind of like over here, where like people don't really understand it so well. But I love the phrase of intracellular matrix, and that's essentially what fascia is. And so if we're not moving our body in these really primal ways, our fascia will get stuck. It'll get bound and knotted in different areas, and that's literally cutting off or adding pressure onto circulation, onto our muscles. So we might have limited range of movement. We might all of a sudden have like Raynaud's syndrome, where your hands and feet are really cold. You might be getting headaches. You might have inflammation, and then your body thinks that you're allergic to apples all of a sudden.
Right.
Wait a minute, why am I allergic to apples? It's a way for the body to let you know that, like, hey, I need some attention here.
Yeah.
And the more that we can twist that, and there's lots of different ways you can do that with fascia blasters. They're like little claws that you can use to rake your skin. Literally just twisting your body, like in a yoga class, doing any sort of twisting. I love Human Garage. You know of them as well.
Yeah.
They have their twisting methods that I enjoy. But so I'll do that kind of thing. I've since found out that what I have called my movement practice is already like an actual business, which was funny. I Googled it one day just to see if I don't know if I want to start this as a business. Is its name taken?
Yeah.
And I always called it my melt practice, because it felt like I was melting.
Yeah.
I would literally lay on the floor. Let's say I'm in child's pose, and all so minutely slow, I would just roll to the right, and allowing all of those muscles to incrementally loosen and lengthen, and then I'd end up on my back. But that whole span of child's pose, leaning to the right to my back, would take maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
Super slow molasses movement. So that's mostly the type of movement that I would do. I also do yoga with my mom. I like to walk. Yeah. That kind of thing.
That would be considered like somatic therapy, wouldn't it? I've heard that there's things like crawling, where you just lay on the ground and you crawl around. It's almost like therapeutic regression to when you're an infant and can't walk, and you spend time on the ground just connecting with those primal movements that you don't do anymore. And that can be therapeutic in ways. I mean, I don't really know that much about it, but somatic therapy is a lot of that, right? I mean, you mentioned Human Garage. I see their clips, and there's people. It must be a combination of movement, somatic therapy, and some Reiki, and some actual physical therapy that gets people really worked up. But yeah, that stuff is really powerful. I was just talking to somebody Sunday, which was yesterday. I did this cars class with a local guy, a friend of mine, and his girlfriend is a yoga teacher. So after we were talking about cars, controlled articulated rotations, I believe it is. Yeah, so it's like when you just explore different ranges of motion with each joint complex. And so he did a class on that where we explored the basics of it. Really cool stuff, trying to segment the spine and the hip versus the hips, and then moving just the shoulder without moving your spine. Really requires a lot of awareness and a lot of control, and that's kind of the whole point, is to develop that stuff. But we were talking afterwards about just different forms of movement, and how I have this one teacher that says, how you move is how you be, right? And my friend Brenda said, how you arrive on your mat is how you arrive to the world. It's kind of saying the same thing. But I find it interesting that a lot of people really have trouble, let's say, like moving their hips, or getting down on the ground and crawling and being in these different positions that require I guess, a bit of vulnerability, you know?
Psoas.
It's like,
Psoas.
it's
That's what I would say.
yeah, but there's like an emotional thing to it too,
Sure.
right? Like
Oh,
people
yeah.
people don't want to move their hips because they think it's sexual or whatever, and they're so tightly wound up and repressed that they can't mentally get into these positions. Psoas.
Yep.
So tell me about that.
Okay. Do you know about the Psoas?
I know what it is.
Okay.
I know mine's pretty tight.
Yeah.
From all the running.
Yeah. So the psoas, for anyone who doesn't know, is a very long and very important stabilizing muscle in your body. So it connects to the lower segments of your lumbar spine on either side and then fans out and connects to the outer parts of your hips. And it is interweaving with all of the circulatory system, your reproductive system, all the organs, everything that is existing within your pelvic bowl. The psoas has those features literally running through the fibers of the muscle. This is also your fight or flight muscle.
Okay.
It is the muscle that contracts to initiate you to get the F out of there.
Yeah.
If there is any sort of physical or emotional, spiritual danger, your body is just like, go.
Yeah.
The psoas is the only muscle in the body that will remain contracted unless it's manually released.
Yeah.
And so if you've had any amount of trauma, this could be big T trauma, little t trauma, and then multiply that by however many times we have trauma in a day and through our life, most people are walking around with contracted psoas. And that contraction is keeping you in the fight or flight and keeping everything that you want to express and be open with hostage.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we are not safe. I have to stay in. I have to be in control. Then what happens, the psoas actually starts to dry out and mimic bone. Okay. And so when the muscle is drying out and mimicking bone, think about the consistency of bone. And if you had vital organs running through the center of a bone, it's going to get squeezed.
Yeah.
PCOS, endometriosis, constipation issues,
yeah.
allergies, anxiety, depression, sciatica, all of these things because the muscle fibers are actually pinching off the vital flow of life force energy.
Yeah.
So when you release the psoas, don't use your fingers. Don't use a hook. I know that those are popular. Don't go to somebody and have them do it for you, because when you release that, if you've been stuck in that space of fear and tension for 15 years, let's say, and then all of a sudden, that is like dropping a glass vase on the ground. Like it's going to shatter. Your emotional state is very vulnerable. And so allow the release over time. And that there are a lot of different ways you can look up personal manual releases, but a lot of it is like keeping your legs at a 90-degree angle while you lay on the floor and just sit there.
Yeah.
And just relax.
Yeah.
And in that time, explore the emotions. Explore what am I thinking of right now as my left thigh is starting to twitch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about money problems. Oh, interesting. That's again the subconscious. Nothing is irrelevant.
Yeah.
That energy might be trapped in your muscle and is being released in this moment. So I love all the connections. Yeah,
that's wild. And, that's something, again, that I just kind of intuitively feel. When I now that you're saying it, like when I stretch my psoas or whatever, I do feel a lot more free and clear. And then I'll notice, since I've been running a lot and kind of under a lot of stress lately, when I go to do my yoga practice or my animal flow practice, I do feel a little bit more restricted, but the process of that practice does help open that stuff up, for sure. And it's not something that I think I consciously think of, like you were saying, like, just lay there and kind of meditate and have that somatic awareness. It's more of like a tune that out and just move, and then sometimes afterwards I'll sit and meditate after my movement practice to see what came up. So that's pretty powerful. But
what if your movement practice was to sit and watch what comes up? Yeah. Yeah. And you also use the word process, and I think that that's really important as well for anything that we're talking about, is that it's a process.
Yeah.
It's not a one and done. There's no quick fix. There's no perfect frequency that's going to heal you.
Yeah.
We're all unique, and we all have these layers, these really complex layers of all these different aspects of our lives. And so to just let it evolve over time.
Absolutely. I think all throughout my life, I've been exploring ways, different types of awareness, right? Or ways to kind of tap into my body and how it connects to my emotions and the world and everything. With movement, with yoga, but also through philosophy and studying those things and, martial arts, all kinds of stuff. And I do feel like that is a lifelong journey that will never end. You're constantly learning things. As soon as you let go of one thing, maybe another thing comes up or is, coming at you. So I've learned a great deal of patience throughout my life, and that seems to have been a theme for me. Not to switch gears into something else, but patience has been a big theme for me lately. Just having a teenage son, running a business, developing different relationships. Patience is huge. I feel like, I have my way of being, and other people don't, right? And so they have theirs, and so learning to kind of understand that and move through the world with respect to the way that other people move has been kind of a challenge that I've had to face lately. And patience. My grandfather just died. He was 103 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But all throughout the funeral and the ceremonies and the family getting together and talking about him and everything, patience kept coming up because he was one of the most patient men out there. Very compassionate, very loving, big part of the Catholic Church community, very giving, 5 kids, tons of grandkids, just a real rock solid, very kind of stoic but compassionate man. And he was, one of my cousins made a speech, and he was the Zabala patron saint of patience.
Aww.
So even before that, I had been thinking about patience, and then that came up. So, but patience with your movement practice, patience with your recovery, patience with your healing, very important.
Well, it's kind of like what we were saying when you're a kid and you think and you get so mad at your parents, and then after, and I go back to my mom crying like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. It's kind of the same thing. It's that we think we know with that level of awareness, but then you reach to the other side and you're like, oh my God, I had no clue.
Yeah.
And whether you're meditating or you're doing a movement practice or you're just growing and aging, that patience it's a good one.
Yeah, constantly learning. I can look back at myself 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago and, laugh at the things I was doing wrong then. But just, it was learning.
Yeah.
Like when I first became a coach, fitness coach, I was doing everything like by the book, like that's not how a squat should look, all this stuff. And now in my journey, I've realized everybody moves different. You have to meet people where they're at, and not just physically, but like emotionally. Maybe they're not ready to do this crazy workout. Maybe just slow it down and pace it down for them. But yeah, you mentioned, just with the parents and stuff, I feel like my relationship with my son is very good because I try to be as authentic as I can and very honest with him. And so that came from me recognizing my parents as humans, as human beings with their own problems, with their own hang-ups, whatever it may be, and no judgment, just knowing that, like, yeah, they're human beings too. So I try to convey that to him is like every time I mess up or make a mistake or maybe yell at him for no reason because I'm strung out, like, hey, I'm sorry, this is what it is. I try to explain it all out. So I think that's cool to do, I wish I had that, but it's only through experience and patience that I've been able to understand those things and portray them to him.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. And I think we had talked about this a long time ago, but like how crazy is it, the difference in mentality and just nervous system when we were kids in high school versus now.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about like learning from your experiences and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I think back to those high school days, it's like I was just in this like constant lightning bolt nervous system energy contracted psoas like so scared of I did this meditation called the face, and it's like there's always this face watching you, and people you know, you just feel like something's watching you, or people are gonna laugh at you if you do something or whatever.
Right.
And then versus now where I'm like, I don't really give a shit what people think of me, you know. Did you have that kind of experience as well?
I mean, you know me, so
yeah.
I think you know the answer, but high school was so terrible.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it was so terrible. It was so not the environment that I needed.
Yeah.
But I didn't know my tuning then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what my authentic tuning was, and I still even am figuring that out. I have so much more clarity on who I am and what I need to feel safe. But at that point, I was thrown into a huge high school. Like, that's one thing I think, too, for anyone that is tuning in that didn't go to school in Saratoga.
Yeah.
Like, our high school was really big.
It was very big, yeah.
Way bigger than most people experience. And so our classes were 600 plus per year. And so to be in a sea, it's like not even a pool, it's like a sea of that many people, because we had, at that time, it was still junior high.
Yeah.
And then the 4 years. So we had 5 years just circling and swirling around us. And there was somebody, a friend of mine that I know from Costa Rica, and he also grew up in Saratoga, didn't go to school at Saratoga, but he does a lot of somatic, fascia, he's in that whole world.
Yeah.
And he just had his 25th year high school reunion, and he went and was like, it's so interesting to see all of those people now and allow myself to be taken back in time and see how my relationship with them, even though we might not have even really been friends, but we like sat next to each other every class for 5 years, how it shaped me, how it shaped my personality at that time, or my perspective on certain things, and how it really affected me. And that can be for good or not so good.
Yeah.
Some might have encouraged creativity, and some might have been really shaming. And so giving ourselves that grace too, that like we don't know who we are, they don't know who they are, and we're just ping-ponging around.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. To be able to look back and forgive is huge, right? Because, you know, I've had some bullies, you know, and I've bullied myself. And it's to forgive myself and forgive the other people, because we don't really know what's going on at that time. It's just wild. I tell my son all the time, like don't worry about this. Yeah. You know, it's nothing really. I mean, yes, these relationships can shape your future, but not really. Like it's not the end all be all. It's not your whole world. You have a whole life to live, and you know, maybe you'll make some connections. But right now, I've always told them this from the jump. It's like, I just care about your effort and your attitude and how you approach things, and let's build the skills to become resilient and be able to work through, you know, all the things that are popping up for you, which are a lot. But you know, he's still a kid. He still wants to be cool, and there's all that pressure. So you know, it's interesting. It's interesting to like look back and feel that, and then recognize it in my own son. So yeah, wild experience, but we made it out. We did, and we worked. We ended up okay.
I feel like more than okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I see myself as like a very unique, different kind of person.
Yeah.
And that brings its own challenges. It's more difficult to find deep friendships or partners or things like that, because I'm not just regular kind of person. Yeah. But I would rather be I would rather be me than be a regular person.
100%. I love that. That's great. Yeah, I just listening to some Alan Watts stuff, and it was like becoming who you are. And he's like, you really have to know yourself before you can know anything else. really, you know, like how you perceive the world, all the gods and demons. He's very poetic. Before you can know anything else. And I just think it's true, you know, like it's taken me a long time to get to know myself, and I don't know if I really know the whole thing yet, but yeah, being okay with who you are, and like not only just being okay, but like you said, like fucking thriving in that energy is really cool, and it's empowering to see. So,
and it's not all the time. Like we were talking earlier, and there are moments of depression, there are moments of struggle and sadness, and a theme that has really been coming to the forefront, a natural tuning for myself, is that I am not meant to be alone. But I grew up with a single mother who her authentic tuning is solitude. She was born into a really boisterous family of 6 children, 2 parents, 8 people, all in the household with dogs and horses and just a lot of energy.
Chaos.
And so all she wanted to do was escape and be on her own. When she was young, she dreamed of being a nun. And now she works in a maximum security prison. And so she's always been in these like a world apart kind of situations, and her home is her sanctuary, and it's her cave, and it's where she can find that solace. And I grew up with her, but I'm not that, and I am meant to be with people and be connecting and I would dream as a young child of like having my house and the doors would just always be open, and the fridge would always be full of food, and anyone could just come in at any time and hang out and eat and whatever. And so I went to the Native American First Nations Festival this past weekend in Greenfield.
Oh, yeah.
And they were introducing all of their different plants. And I felt just like this deep sadness in myself that I don't have a plan. Yeah. And that's what I want. And when I was leaving, I was driving and just crying and like yelling at my mom, but not at her, but just like, I'm not tuned that way. I'm not tuned to be alone like you are, and I don't want to be anymore. Yeah. So I'm really getting to that point of frustration where I think a lot of times when we get to that, like, just can't, and then it bursts.
It's a breaking point. Yeah.
Something else will transform and come through, and so we'll see what's on the other side of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. And you know, there's plenty of like communities to join into, whatever it may be. But I kind of feel, I don't know if I feel the opposite way for myself, but I really enjoy solitude. That being said, I also enjoy community in a certain way. I kind of like to be around people that are of a similar frequency, right? If I'm at like a party and people are talking about money and politics and this and that, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be there. You know, but if we're talking about health and wellness or spirituality, philosophy, those are my people. And that's been kind of difficult to find that tribe. I've got a handful of, you know, friends that I can talk to about that kind of stuff. But besides that, and maybe for that reason that there's not much around here, I prefer my solitude, and just kind of going on solo runs and working out by myself and hanging out with just me and my son, playing golf or whatever. So, yeah, it is interesting, the different tunings.
Yeah, and we need all of them.
Yeah, I was just going to say they can change over time, right? Because sometimes you feel really extroverted and sometimes you just need some space, time alone. Yeah. Super cool. Super cool. So, what do you have going on right now? Yeah. I know you're studying for...
I'm studying. Right now I'm in Anatomy Physiology 2. Second level, and physics. And physics is very interesting. Yeah. I'm really able to get the concepts of physics. It's just the math part of like deducing down this whole paragraph of this physics equation and knowing which formula to pull to solve it. Yeah. But practice makes perfect. And aside from that, I feel like I'm just now getting to this point where I feel ready to be out and doing sound baths again. Mm-hmm. When I first moved, there was a lot going on. My grandmother, my moving back to another country, my own health, starting school right away, starting working at the hospital right away. And so now things have settled. and I have my first public sound bath on the 11th of October in Albany. There's a salt den, apparently, like this big salt cave.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to do that, and then I have another one with them in December, and just try it, just like I'm easefully putting my toe into that, like, okay, let's do one here and there and see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, with you going to school and everything, that's, you know, you got to be mindful of your time and your bandwidth. So you've got a couple of sound bath healing. I want to check it out for sure. Definitely let me know when those are, because I want to be there for that. You talked about physics. I feel like you and I might be the same, where like I can grasp the big concepts of them, but like I'm not doing equations or anything. I just listened to this really cool book, Annika Harris, on consciousness, and a lot of it goes into whether or not it's like a fundamental thing and what is consciousness, right? And I'm sure we could talk about this for a long time, but the physics of it, when she was explaining like gravity being a field or sort of like linear, she was like, imagine a bowling ball going into a mattress and having it sucked down, and like that's sort of gravity. I don't know, I can't even begin to, but it's really amazing. And I feel like I can grasp it conceptually, but then diving into it requires a whole nother level of discipline, really.
Yeah, and as far as sound is, physics is a huge part of sound, and especially within sonography and how sound waves moving through the body. But I've read so many physics books about sound, and there's one concept that you might be interested in. It's called electric universe. It's like an alternate theory around it, where they really take into account plasma, the extra cellular matrix of the universe, and that's something that's very interesting. They talk about gravity more as like an internal, rather than like it being pushed down. Which it's just more of like a reverse thinking of that. But so much of our whole body is electricity. But now that I'm in class, the other day, I don't even remember what I was looking at, but I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I wonder how I would solve this equation. And it was like I was on a walk somewhere in nature and like looking at the curve and the way that something was moving around it, and I was like, oh yeah, and the displacement of this and the anti-gravity, and like it's my brain is starting, I can feel the little neural pathways starting to form, which is really exciting.
So looking at things from a more scientific view as opposed to like just the beauty, like the art of it all.
Well, I always look at it as the beauty and the art of it, and so now to start understanding the why, and I think this phase of my life is that. I had a really earth-shattering experience last September, and I still am I'm still recovering from it, but it really rocked any semblance of belief that I had. I had a very strong spiritual practice, a big belief and understanding and working with manifestation and things like that, and then this experience happened and it just blew it up. And so now it's like my observer self is watching me and turning so hard into the science aspect, I think, is my way of trying to find what I believe in again. Like, how do I prove what I believe in?
Just exploring different things. And that's great. I think it's never too late to explore new avenues and do things. Like, you know, I'm not sure if I want to do this forever, but, you know, come whatever may, I'm gonna be okay, right? That's my mantra lately. So I've started to entertain the idea of going back to school myself and do something, and it's like, you always have that curiosity, and you know, I think changing gears can be scary, but you'll be okay, right? How's that been for you? Like going from you've changed gears quite a bit in your life, it sounds like.
I was on the beach in Costa Rica with nothing to do all the day long for 2 years, pretty much, doing slinging sound healing here and there for retreats and things, and then now I'm like, in school, in the hospital, like working every single day, waking up at 6:30, going to bed, getting home from work at 9:30. It's just a completely different life. I am really enjoying it.
Great.
I think I needed it. It was time for me, it was, I think, that breaking point, like I said about something else earlier, when we get to that, it's just like we just have to break through and go for it. And even though it's really hard, I mean, it's extremely hard. You and I were in a similar math situation when we were in high school.
Yeah.
I was in, I think you were too, so there's the regular math, there's like the advanced math, and then there's the slow math.
Yeah.
And I was in the slow math of the year before me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like my year's slow math.
Yeah.
It was the year before me as slow math. Struggled so much with math.
Yeah.
And then shifting into this, last semester I had math. I got a 96 on the final, 98 overall.
Solid.
Now I'm in physics. Just seeing myself now, 20 years later, and how different I'm able to relate to that system is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you change, right? Like when I was a kid, I didn't care about math.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Now I'm owning a business and I'm having to do some accounting work and work out like weights, ounces to pounds, and how much does that cost, and all these equations that I have to do all the time, and it's interesting to me. I actually kind of enjoy it now. So it's just But if you told me that in 9th grade, I'd be like, yeah, right. But it just has to apply to you, right? Your tuning.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up now. But you've got your sound bath. What were those dates again?
Yeah. So this one coming up is October 11th, and then December, I want to say 12th. It's a Sunday.
Okay.
And that's at the Albany Salt Den. That one, those two specifically are for women. It's like a women's club.
So I can't go.
You can't go to that one, but I am working on another one that you can go to, so I can let you know about that.
Cool.
And then if anyone is interested in learning about sound healing, I offer sound healer trainings. It's one of my passions. I love teaching people about sound and stepping into that space of facilitation. And I also have mentorship where we talk about a lot of things that we talked about, just more individual one-on-one. Yeah,
very cool. And if people want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
I am everywhere at Completely Golden.
Completely Golden.
My business name is Completely Golden, and that's website, Instagram, all that.
All that stuff. I'm just now remembering that I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
It's the question I ask everybody on the podcast. It's the last meal question. So if you were on death row or whatever, and they said you could have one last meal, and it could be anything you want, any amount of anything you want. It could be a smorgasbord of a little of this, a little of that, whatever, as much as you want. Anything to eat, drink, what would it be?
It would be my go-to meal from Carvelli, Indian restaurant downtown.
Okay.
And it would be the dosa, which is like a very large lentil crepe with curry potatoes and different chutneys.
Yeah.
And I would also do the paneer. I think I would do paneer palak, which is spinach and potato sauce, and then a paneer tikka masala, which is like the raw cheese with the tikka masala sauce.
Yeah, I like that. I love Indian food, all the spices and combinations, and I love that. I don't mess around with that too much here. I have like a tikka that I'll do, or like I'll do a Thai curry. I like to explore those spices, but I went to an Ethiopian spot in the city one time, and that would blew my mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is there anything like that around here that you found, like Ethiopian
in
or?
Albany, there was the last time. I mean, I was here 8 years ago, so I don't really know, but if it's still there. But if it is in Albany, right on that main downtown drag where all the cool little shops and cafes are.
Yeah. Okay. Just the different spices they use and the cooking techniques are so much different. They really like the potato and spinach sauce. That sounds interesting. It's not something we see every day here. Maybe I'll try to incorporate some of that stuff. Get adventurous.
Yeah. Learn something new.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate you. Stay tuned for all the other good stuff you're doing, and let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Greenfork Podcast out. Stay healthy, my friends.